You stopped coaching for performance and started coaching for essence.
When we look at a corporate structure, it's all bottom line driven. So that means that individuals have to perform within the construct of what it is that they have to deliver, whether it's a key performance indicator, whether it's a metric. People are not as confident when that pressure's on. So what I try to do is go deeper than that. It's like if you are understanding what your true superpower is, what your true essence is, then all that becomes oblivious. You're moving with an authenticity, with a purpose that's greater than the performance itself.
You're in enough rapport with them to allow their essence, their sage essence to emerge because you're not triggering their saboteurs because you're just in it. Welcome to Minding Your Minutes, creating space for high-impact flourishing. I'm Bridgette Surfety, Executive Wellbeing Strategist, Leadership Resilience Coach, and founder of Minding Your Minutes. This show is about real life and real leadership. It's about learning to move beyond the overwork and burnout cycle to create a life of sustainable vitality, deep impact, optimal flow, and meaningful connection, even in the midst of high demand. In today's episode, I'm honored to sit down with someone I've had the privilege to coach and walk alongside. He's done some extraordinary inner and outer leadership work, and we share some experience in the wonderfully weird industry of nuclear pharmacy. My friend and colleague, Kirk McCall, a leader who is not only delivering results in this high-stakes environment, but also redefining what leadership can look like from the inside out. Kirk, it's wonderful to see you here, and I can't wait to hear more about your journey. And let's kick it off with just some conversation about what you discovered about your own presence, humanity, and intentional growth. And so looking back, when did you first realize that high performance wasn't enough in your leadership journey?
First, Bridgette, would like to thank you for inviting me to this platform. It's always a joy to talk to someone that has a like mind for developing, but really nurturing the inner strengths that potential leaders have. I think on this journey, I've been working in leadership roles since I graduated from college. I was in the military. So by default, they train leaders from day one. And I always considered myself to be connected and in tune with people. I enjoy the team aspect of performance. I enjoy seeing others excel. But for me individually, I like to be successful when our teams flourish. And in this day and age, there are a lot of different platforms talking about leadership and development and high performance, high potential. And in our industry, it's moving so rapidly that a lot of times we have individuals that have talent, have potential, but we thrust them into these environments where it's almost a sink or swim type of mentality. And some that are lucky, they will make it through that kind of baptism by fire, and then some do not. And so I really would like us to kind of reimagine what it means to get into the emotional side of leadership. I know if you have a lot of high-performing individuals, sometimes they look at the emotional intelligence as fluffy or soft or, okay, whatever. But as I've been on this part of my journey, and especially working alongside you and really opening up to see really what that means, I've embraced it. And I see the importance of us really understanding what these blind spots are, what the impediments are, and having that awareness, but with that awareness, being able to quickly pivot from being stuck or mired in things that are not allowing you to be efficient and effective to getting strategies to get, say, in that sage mindset. Where now we're into these flows, and these flows allow us to really exercise and demonstrate what our true potentials are. So as I've worked within my laboratory, which is SOFIE. I'm just very ecstatic that the company saw the need to make this investment. And so it allows me to not only get in front of our potential leaders of tomorrow, but to also journey with them. As I'm going through my journey and experiences, it gives me a little more authenticity when I'm speaking with them because I'm not dissimilar from what they're going through. So it almost allows me to become one with the person that I'm sitting across the table from. And so that's it. That's kind of the essence of what working with you has revealed. That, okay, you might be a high level achiever. You might have extremely high IQ and potential to do great things, but there's an essence that I think a lot of us miss on. And that's that superpower that we really want people to understand. They have it inherently inside of them, but they don't know what to name it. They don't know what to call it. They don't know really how to tap into it. So what I try to do in my opportunities to sit in front of others is to really have them to do the investment inside, to go inside themselves and take that journey and explore who they really are. And once they really find out what that engine is, what that energy is, then it allows them to exhibit that outwardly and leverage that. And that's really what I want us all to reimagine. How do we become better humans through this leadership opportunity? And I'm not introducing anything new to the discussion. I'm not introducing any magic, concept or blueprint. All I'm offering is for people to do the work to go inside and realize what that potential is and be brave enough to leverage that. So that's really the conversation. And I'm so glad that you've invited me to this platform to have that conversation.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff in there. So I want to unpack the essence side, but I want to take you back to that point where you discovered your own saboteurs, and maybe how much time was wasted there. So you found your stickler, your hyperachiever, your hyper rational. What surprised you about all that? What was the impact in your leadership? And even at home, what was the impact of those saboteurs?
Actually, I probably knew those were kind of there, but really didn't do the work to really understand it. I just kind of motored through. I think as I went through the platform, it was just interesting how meditative the platform was. So through the daily PQ exercises, it's almost as if you're approaching it like you're approaching a physical training for your body. So I think the realization just came in those first couple of workshops of, oh man, I've been like forcing it to work where now there's a calmness and an easiness. So the mindfulness of that kind of work allowed me to quiet myself and really be a little more intentional in who I was as a person and really what talents I have. And it's almost like a light bulb went off. It wasn't, I don't think there was anything new introduced in the workshops or the practice. But what it did, it just opened me up to allow me to see better with better clarity on who I was. And it's almost like I'm looking at this matrix of just hieroglyphics in front of me, and all of a sudden I can read it.
Nice.
And so it's like this veil was just taken off. It's like, oh, okay, this is what's happening in the machine world.
Oh, that was easy.
Yeah, so I think, that was it. It was as simple as that.
Well, so what I love about that, I mean, you sound like an operations guy, right? I mean, you've operationalized this PQ system in your life somehow. And so how did you do that? What does it look like from a practice perspective?
I would say from a practice perspective, first kind of understanding who I am and what the saboteurs are and how I can pivot into this sage mindset. It allows me to, when I'm mentoring or coaching or identifying high potential employees, it allows me really to speak from my experience and then letting them know that you too can have kind of this self-actualization within your space. You can get the blind spots lit up so that you can see them. The impediments that are in front of you, you can see them clearly to learn how to navigate around them quickly, efficiently, and effectively. So in my day-to-day, when I'm coaching or just having a conversation, it allows me to almost give them the vision. I can't really explain it, but it's as if I'm speaking in a language that only they can understand because I'm that in tune with the individual. It's almost as if there's a connection where this sage energy is just kind of like coming through this conduit and feeding into them. But at the same time, I'm getting that same energy and flow back. So now it becomes cyclical. And I don't know if that makes any sense.
It totally makes sense. No, it is. That is the sage perspective because you're in enough rapport with them to allow their essence, their sage essence to emerge because you're not triggering their saboteurs because you're just in it. And so you said something to me recently that I loved, that you stopped coaching for performance and started coaching for essence, which is a great leadership brand, by the way. And so tell us about a moment when you realized that you were coaching from that place, maybe with one of your high performers where you were just in it and they knew you were in it. Just tell us a story.
So I think traditionally, when we look at a corporate structure, it's all bottom line driven. So that means that individuals have to perform within the construct of what it is that they have to deliver, whether it's a key performance indicator, whether it's a metric. And so that's how we train. We train and develop to hit these targets. And that's what I was brought up in that, whether it's the military, this is the objective. This is what you need to train to standard to achieve that objective. You hit the target, you move off the target and move on to the next mission. In corporations, it's not dissimilar. We're training and developing for performance. So what clicked to me is that a lot of times we put a lot of undue pressure on individuals when we're hitting, this is what you got to do in order for you to get the promotion, to get more money, to get autonomy, to get whatever it is that you desire. This is what you got to do. So the pressure inherent is that people are not as confident, and I won't say all, but generally speaking, people are not as confident when that pressure's on. So what I try to do is go deeper than that. It's like, if you are understanding what your true superpower is, what your true essence is, then all that becomes oblivious. You're moving with an authenticity, with a purpose that's greater than the performance itself. And it just clicked. And I think I've always lived in that mindset, but didn't really know how to tease it out and make it a thing, so to speak. And so now when I talk, I'm talking right to the heart. I'm talking to this part of the person, because if we get that right, there is no obstacle out there that they cannot navigate. And the pressures that we put on them just to say, hey, you got to do this to get, a number one block in your appraisal, all that goes away because they're doing it from a very authentic place. They're living it. They're becoming the embodiment of this motion. And it's, I don't even know how to explain it. It's almost as if, you're going to be a Michael Jordan, but you're not going to be a Michael Jordan in a traditional sense. When Michael Jordan gets into flow, it's as if the bucket is this big and he can throw it from anywhere on the court and it's going to go in. Well, that's the essence. And that's where we're really driving our people to tap into, to where the bucket is this big.
I love that.
Yeah, you don't have to try to finesse it, to get it in and make the score. It's like you can do it in your sleep because it's coming from a place of purity. And so that's where the clarity comes in. And that's the essence piece. The performance piece will take care of itself if the heart is right.
Yeah, and really understanding that essence. And so I happen to know your Sparketype warrior advisor. And so we've had a lot of conversation about leading these people through this mission to find this giant bucket, right? And just make it easy for them. So how are you helping them see their superpowers? How are you integrating Sparketypes and Sage perspective into that superpower conversation?
So what I'm doing now, in SOFIE, we're establishing a high potential program. So we'll have a pilot coming out this year. The easiest way I can explain it is that just as you sat down with me and said, "Hey, Kurt, I got something I want to show you. I think you'll be interested in this." And you got me into it to where now it just becomes very clear. So when I'm talking to someone about Sparketypes or talking to them about saboteurs or sage mind, what I'm doing is inviting them to go inside so that they can be honest with themselves and do that assessment. Do the assessment to say, this is where I have, some fragility. This is where I'm insecure. This is where I'm vulnerable. And be honest with that. Because I think a lot of times when people are striving and they're trying to achieve, what happens is they might know that there's a weak spot, but they push through it because they can't show that. They can't demonstrate that because there will be a judgment coming back. So the biggest thing is to allow them to see and have an awareness of what the frailty is. And not that it's a bad thing in all cases, because it can be something to ignite something to protect you, to get you beyond what the problem is. But I want them to do the work, to be honest and truthful with themselves. And I think Sparketypes does that. It does it in a very non-threatening way. It's very natural. And what it allows you to do is take the time out to be mindful. So if you're doing a PQ and now you understand, you can feel the ridges of your fingers, it's like, wow, I never really took time to do that. When you're talking about breathing and meditating and doing it in different positions and, now it becomes integrated in. And so what I try to do is use me as the example of what it can do for you. And so it's really easy. It's just like, well, let's just get them in and let them just do the survey so they can at least see who they are. And then the work comes. But even before that, I'm challenging them to go inward and do the assessment of who they are. Because in order for them to lead others or to manage others or to be out in front and really driving these ecosystems, they have to be honest within. They can't be honest and truthful with anyone else if they're not doing it internally. And Sparketypes, it's easy.
Yeah, it is easy and it's fun too. So you created this really interesting leadership program. What do you want to tell us about that? I know Sophie's made an investment, but you have too. You've invested a lot of your own creative energy. What are you building?
What we're really building is a platform for individuals to be better humans. I think my approach is no different than a lot of people that are probably in these leadership spaces, but I think the secret sauce for me is for us to understand how intricately involved and important we are in the larger ecosystem of life, and that we're all valuable. We all have something positive to contribute. And what I want to do in our platform is to get to the humanity of everyone. So whether they're leading a multidisciplinary team, whether they're striving to be the CEO, COO, vice president of a corporation, I want them to make sure that they understand how valuable they are to us sustaining as a human species. That's what I'm building. And I say I in a very kind of innocuous term. It's not I, Kirk, but what the energy is that we're trying to push forward. If we can get people grounded in that humanity, in that love, in that nurturing, in that caring, the bottom line is nothing. We hit that target all the time because what we're doing is we're really investing in the energy of the ecosystem. The ecosystem will thrive if people know how valuable they are to nurture it. And a lot of times in corporations, we talk about it. We talk about winning. We talk about success, but we don't tell people how to win. You know, hey, you're winners and you're assassins and you're hunter killers and da da da. But it's like, okay, that sounds good, but what do I do? And so what we want to do is we want to show the pathway. We're not creating the pathway. We're showing them the possibility of their journey. And we're inviting them to get on the road and drive. But before they drive, we have to give them the manual of how to start the car up, how to put it into gear and how to ease onto the highway. So we want to take them through kind of a rudimentary type of process so that they know what to do. And then once they get to a space to where they master that, shake it up, make them uncomfortable and get them to a point to where now their sage mind is anticipating all of these things along the way. So the platform is a high potential employee kind of engagement platform, which is not dissimilar than a lot of corporations and academic, agencies that are doing these type of programs. But I think the twist is that SOFIE has trusted me to be me. They've given me a wide band to go out and do what I do. And, sometimes I ask myself, what is it that I do? But I think once I'm sitting in front of someone, it just goes. And I can't even script it. I can't even say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in, I'm going to ask these 5 questions, and this is what I'm after. It starts with, hey, how you doing today? And from that point on, it just flows. And my goal is to make sure that I can get in as close enough to that power source of the individual so that they understand what that power is. So now they know they can be brave enough to lead with it, to leverage it, and to make a better humanity. So the whole platform is, yes, we want to train leaders and develop people to be confident in front of others and to run businesses. But my ultimate goal is to get people to tap into the greater part of their humanity to make the world a better place. It just so happens that within SOFIE, we have a laboratory. So I say we'll start here. We'll start small. Once they leave the threshold of the building and go outside in the parking lot, go to the grocery store, go to the church, go to the farmer's market, they're now doing it. They're in this flow. And they probably don't even realize it, but that's what we're wanting to do. We want to create an environment where we can build that essence so it's portable. They can take it wherever they need to, and people will see that coming through them. And then they'll understand their superpower. And that's really what I'm after. I'm after them having a self-realization of what that energy source is within and how to leverage that.
I love that. So it's not just about the work they're doing at SOFIE within pet manufacturing. It's really about what they're doing in their lives. And that's huge impact and big legacy, not just for you, but for them. I do want to talk a little bit about what is SOFIE, just because I mentioned nuclear pharmacy and pet manufacturing, and I realize that most of our listeners do not know what that is. So how does this investment in positive intelligence and Sparketypes, how does it really work in this high demand, high stress, high stakes environment? What's important about that?
So when we look at kind of the pillars of what SOFIE stands for, so when we look in radio pharmacy, nuclear medicine, molecular imaging world, SOFIE is but a piece of that. So in our business model, we're promoting innovation. We're promoting leadership within the industry. And what we're doing is we're leveraging our people. And so how Sparketypes works is that innovation is nothing without your people capital. Now, you might have the brightest, you might have the most talented people, but if they don't believe in this vision and how they fit into that vision, which means that the C-suite, the leadership has to connect with the driver, with the chemist, with the pharmacist, with the technician. If they don't feel that connection, it's like, well, why am I doing this work? And so what Sparketypes allows us to do in this particular space is to look at the vision of the company, see where the company wants to go, what our pipeline is, what new products are coming out, how do we, get, customer facing, how do we really take care of the patients that, are looking for answers. So in order for us to do that at a high level, that means that our people capital has to have an investment. And the company is making that investment to engage. And we've done okay through the years, but we have not done great because we get caught up into the mechanics of how do we get through the day. So in our industry, it's technology driven. We have equipment. We have very complex machines. We have processes and regulations, and it's very complex. And so sometimes we're so focused on the complexity of getting through the day to make sure that we get a dose out for that patient that's looking for answers, that we forget about the people that are doing that work. And so what I am challenging us as a corporation is to continue to engage in our people, to listen to our people, to see what it is that triggers them, that excites them, that motivates them, that pisses them off, that makes them really feel good, and speaking in a language that they understand. So it's almost like taking Sparketypes and putting it into the same format of the 5 love languages.
I love that.
And so if you can take the mindfulness of a Sparketypes emotional intelligence platform and you now integrate it into us speaking a language that the people that we're trying to get the message to understands, then we win beyond our wildest dreams, because now it's as if I'm speaking to you and I don't understand your language of how you want to be appreciated. It's as if I'm speaking foreign to you. You're like, okay, Kurt, what are you talking about here? But if I lock into you and I understand, what that language is, they see it. It opens up like, wow, someone's actually taken the time to get my opinion. Someone's taken the time to invest in me, to say, you know what, you are of value. So Sparketypes in our highly mobile and innovative environment, it fits perfectly, because we can still do all the mechanical things to be successful. But once we invest in the people and we give them tools to really take the veil off so that now they can see how they fit, man, you don't lose employees that way. They're with you for 10, 15, 20 years because it's like, wow, the company actually believes in me. And so now I'm going to do all the little things in order to make this company successful, because the company is me. And that's the work that we're trying to do. So this is a platform that fits in nicely because it helps us to take the veil off. And what we're doing is we're having the individuals to take the veil off so they can see their saboteurs, right? And so now once the veil comes off, it's like, man, I can pivot really quickly and now get into this sage mindset to where now I can see the whole landscape very clearly. And I don't know if I can put it any simpler than that. I mean, it overlays quite nicely into, what our goals and objectives are as a company.
Yeah, I mean, I hear the passion for it, and I have no doubt the employees will appreciate it deeply. And you're right, they'll stay. And as a matter of fact, I said to you recently, I want my kid to work there. So, I mean, that speaks volumes too. So,
Well,
yeah, no pressure.
well, we live kind of in this pressure cooker environment anyway, so we're kind of like built for that. But what we do want to do is offer some pressure release valves too.
Yeah,
So we can bring it down to a point to where now people can, see how things are now simmering and cooking over time, and the
absolutely.
seasons get in, and then you really got a good recipe.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and what I like about that recipe that where we're thinking about people's common humanity is we're also thinking about not just their flourishing at work, but also their flourishing at home as well. And so I want to dial that back to you. So what else are you still working on related to your own flourishing and well-being? And then how do you take that out into the field?
Well, my journey is the journey, and I think with all of us, over time, we realize things about ourselves and how we really want to make our contributions. And I think, earlier in life, it's just getting the job, getting the gig, get the paycheck. But over time, that becomes lesser the focus, and really, how do I leverage what I do best for the betterment of our society? And my personal journey is one of exploration, and I really want to, not to get too metaphysical with it all, but I really want to take in the energies, of this greater universe, and then take that and push it back out to others and let them see that they're just as connected. So my personal journey and experience, I get no greater satisfaction than being across from someone, having a conversation, and having the light bulb to go off right then.
Mhm.
To where it's like, wow, and I just get chills. It just kind of flows through me. And it's like, whoa, I don't even know what to do with that, you know. But that's the journey. I think for me, it's, I'm like an astronaut. I'm just exploring galaxies, and the galaxies are the humans that I'm across from. And, once I take away the physical of what I see and I go inside, it's just a beautiful connection. And, for me, it has become somewhat personal, because, I want us all to win at living. I
Mhm.
want us all to win at loving. I want us to win at sharing. I want us to win at supporting and nurturing, and just being good for each other. And I tell everyone, I don't care if they're a driver for us. And I say driver because that's like one of our entry level
Mhm.
positions coming in, that they have a voice and they have agency. And I like to promote that and let them know that you can ask for something. You can position yourself to do more. And I want to give them the confidence in the work environment, because it gives them the same permissions outside of work. And sometimes, what blocks us at work also blocks us in the house with our
Mhm.
families, with our spouses, with our friends. And so if we can get it right in this small little laboratory called SOFIE in this case, then we can take that and export it outward. And now we become better friends and spouses and just better humans. And so that's my journey. My journey is to try to connect to as many people as possible to share my excitement for life, my excitement for others. And I learn every conversation that I have. I just take it. I was like, wow, that was kind of interesting. And what I do is I just package it up and I throw it right back out. because it's not mine to hold and have. It's for me to experience it and then share with others so they can have that same experience. That's my journey. My journey is to walk alongside anyone who really wants to go a little deeper, to getting toward this kind of self-actualization. And I say, well, let's not do it in SOFIE. Let's self-actualize here. I mean, we can do it if we just quiet our minds, understand what these impediments are, and work together to push through. And so my big goal is to kind of remove this veil so you can peek through and see the beauty of, what's out there. So.
Yeah, it's lovely. And I love creating alongside of you. It's so much fun. And we could probably talk all day, and we probably shouldn't. So as always, Kirk, I appreciate your humanity, your willingness, your authenticity, the brilliance that comes through always. And I also appreciate anyone who's listening today. So for anybody that would like to take the next step, if this conversation has sparked something in you, please feel free to reach out. If we wanted to reach to you, Kirk, how would they get in touch with you?
They can just contact me right through my email. So
Okay.
kirk.mccall@sofie.com, and that's SOFIE.com.
Thank you for joining today. If today's conversation has sparked something in you, how to discover your own saboteurs, perhaps that this overwork and burnout cycle isn't sustainable and you'd like to create some deeper flourishing, greater vitality, and certainly bigger impact in life and work, please reach out. I'd love to connect, and you can do so at any of the links below. Thank you.